Ah, memories. The things in life that when you look back at them that are good, you're thinking, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then you look back on the bad ones like, man, how stupid was I? All right, so welcome back. So one thing I wanted to talk about today was actually the very first time I actually played Resident Evil 4 and the very first time I completed it. Because these are actually two very separate occasions. So before we get started to this little bit of a story time, I'm actually very close to 100 subscribers. So what I need you to do is if you could please like the video, comment the very first time you played Resident Evil 4. How was the experience for you? Do that for me in the comments. And usually this isn't something I would do at the very beginning of the video. I try to save this to the very end, but again, I want to reach this goal by the end of May. So if you could help me with that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's kick things off. So, surprisingly, despite the fact that this game's like I'm talking about the original Resident Evil 4, not the remake. This thing's like from what, like 2003, 2004, or 2005, I think. I'm not too sure, but it was originally on the GameCube, which is actually where I played it. So to start things off, this game when I originally played it, well, let's give a little bit of a backstory. The way it was when 'cause I think it was around I think like 25 when the game first came out. I actually was pretty far behind when it came to modern consoles at the time, which would have been like an Xbox or the original Xbox, the PS2, and I think even the GameCube. But I was stuck on the N64 for like the longest time. Same thing with the Super Nintendo. So I mean, and then plus I was cheap as hell too. I still kind of am. But so most of the time I would actually just borrow games from a friend. But going into it, so what the very first time I actually played the game, and the funny thing is I can still remember this night. I don't remember the exact details because it was my brother that actually had a GameCube, and either he was either going into boot camp for the Marines or he's getting ready to go to boot camp. I don't exactly remember the whole details, but again, bro, hey, if you're listening to this, man, thank you because that was definitely one hell of an experience. And plus, shout out to all the Marines that go out to fight, badass motherfuckers. But yeah, so originally my brother came over. He had a GameCube, and the funny thing is, I can still remember the all three games that I played in the exact order. Unfortunately, I don't remember the very first title of the first game I played. But the one thing I do remember is I think the very beginning mission was like it's like in a construction kind of site kind of thing, and then it leads up to where you meet this foreign chick in a bikini, I guess, or she's like a stripper or some shit. But apparently, like you're supposed to like sneak around the guards, but you're playing as the chick kind of, and you're doing I guess like a DDR kind of thing on screen, and basically you have to match the right button combination to basically fill up a meter, and then the guards are like, "Oh baby, oh yeah," and they get closer to her, and they're not really paying attention doing their job. If you know what game that is, let me know because I forgot what game that was, and I don't feel like looking into it. The second game that he let me try out was something called PN03. Now that game has actually had my attention. I'm surprised I still remember that damn name, because for years I knew the name of the game. I just forgot like I actually played it, and that maybe I'll get it for the GameCube someday. I still don't have it. And then the last game, which is about today's topic, was the OG Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube. Now, for me going into this game, it didn't really feel anything special. I'm just like, all right, cool, a game that I get to try. Like, I'm not losing any money. It's just cool. Like, let me try it out. And bro, like this was quite the experience. It even made me. It's funny because I was actually scared to play the game only because the fact I don't know. It was just a chainsaw motherfucker, Doctor Salvador. Like, oh shit, like, and now it's all anybody can deal with him once you play the game long enough. Like, it's pretty much second nature. Bait the guy, shoot his ass. Bro, you could even knife him to death. But man, going into that and then like being I guess what would be like, I guess my very first, I guess third person kind of shooter kind of thing. It was a brand new experience, but again, it just, I guess I was just like, like I don't have a GameCube. I've never played this kind of game before, but I mean, I'm liking what I'm playing. I did like the original Resident Evil when I first played it, so I was like, yeah, fuck it. I mean, I haven't played two and three, but hey, fuck it, we'll go into it. So yeah, I did start it up, and man, I can't tell you how many times I died to that Doctor Salvador. Cause it's funny because I can still remember that one of the things they'll constantly keep doing is climbing up the watchtower, and they would be setting that shit on fire. And like, oh man, like I'm about to die. Hold up, let me just jump down. Then I'll just get chainsawed or just hit with whatever axe. Like, fuck, man. But yeah, so I never made it past that part. And I would say for the next maybe 3 or 4 years, um, I pretty much never really touched the game again. It kind of just became a memory at that point, or or more of something I actually just forgot. So fast forward, I was actually still on the N64 all the way until about 2005, 2006. And the funny thing is, it was actually my brother too. He invited me over and said, "Hey, you want a PS2? I'll sell it to you for $50." Like, oh shit, like hell yeah. I mean, I don't know how long this N64 is gonna last, but I think it's on its last legs, and I do need a new console, so fuck it, I'll take it. So yeah, I went over. I got the PS2 from him. About to say 64, my bad. But yeah, so I got the PS2 from him, and and this will release to my next topic when I first owned Resident Evil 4. Luckily, again, I was still a cheap motherfucker. I actually got it for a Christmas gift from an uncle's wife of mine, so that was actually pretty cool. And it's funny because I used to get along with her son, and he was kind of cool, kind of a little bitch. But fucking but yeah, because he noticed that I was playing Resident Evil 1, and they were asking him like, hey, well, what is Brandon like? And he basically told him like, oh, well, I saw him playing Resident Evil, so there you go, like whatever. And so I remember that Christmas day, I got the gift, and it was pretty cool. The funny thing is that I also want to talk about too, which is just like a little bit of a side note. But the day that I had gotten that Resident Evil 4 was also the same day I got Resident Evil Outbreak and Code Veronica X, along with Grand Theft Auto 3. And the funny thing with that, I mean, this is one thing I appreciate from my mom, and it was one of the coolest gifts I ever got from her. Cause usually she would ask me for like a list, like write down like 5 things you want or whatever, and I'll just pick like one or two from it. So normally that's what me and my sister would do. But in this case, I completely forgot. I was too busy with work, and she's like, "Oh, it's fine or whatever." She goes, "I know what you like," or she goes, "I think I know what you like." So one day I just remember I got like this case. I'm trying to figure it out, and my dumbass is getting all mad. I'm thinking she got me like a DVD box set of something I don't even fucking watch because that's what the box felt like. No, it was just like a collection of just 3 games put together. I'm like, oh shit, and I actually enjoyed them. Well, not so much the Grand Theft Auto 3, but Outbreak. Even though I only got past like the second level and that was it. And Code Veronica X was extremely difficult for me. I never finished it either. But man, was that some of the coolest gifts I ever got. And looking back at them, they really were. And I really wish I could have finished those games back then. But oh well. But yeah, so Resident Evil 4 was a gift that I got for Christmas. And I remember kind of being kind of scared of it. Like, oh man, like it just kind of like shot back to me like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I remember this game. Like, I remember I getting my ass kicked at this. Like, can I really get past this fucker? And the funny thing is, I wanted to play it right away, but for some stupid reason, I decided, hey, I'm gonna play Grand Theft Auto 3. Fuck it. So I played Grand Theft Auto 3, and the funny thing is, I left Resident Evil 4 all the way into like the last thing, despite the fact I really wanted to play it, but I just kept putting it to the side. So, oh shit. By the way, if you hear some rumbling, there's like some major thunderstorm going on right now, so sorry about that. But yeah, so back to the story. So yeah, I played Grand Theft Auto 3, but after a while, I kind of just got bored of it. I was like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. So now we're going to the new year. I started up Outbreak. I could only get past the first 2 levels, and then that was it. I couldn't figure out what to do. And during this time, I had no internet too. Again, I was a cheap motherfucker. So, but yeah, so then I pretty much abandoned that game. Went to Code Veronica X. Was really enjoying it. I'm like, oh, I like Claire. I don't know who this girl is, but this is pretty badass. And the reason I say that is because I actually never played the original Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3. I did try the very beginning sections, but that was it. And that's only because one of my best friends, he was always the one getting me into games and having me check them out, try them out, and that was really all I got past on those two. So I really went from pretty much Resident Evil 1 straight to 4. Not a bad thing though. But yeah, so Resident Evil 4, I was about to hit Resident Evil 4 up, and actually a good friend of mine who's also a coworker was like, hey man, I might have to crash your place. I'm like, yeah, actually if you want, go for it, bro. And he's like, hey, hell yeah. And then I remember we got some takeout. I think we got Jack in the Box that night. And then it was pretty cool because he asked me, like, hey, you got a PS2? Like, well, what are you playing right now? I go, actually, I just stopped this one game, but I'm about to hit up this game called Resident Evil 4. Like, I go, you want to play it first before me? He's like, nah, let me watch you play it first, man. He goes, it looks like a scary game. And I don't know, it's funny. He's the kind of guy, he didn't like scary movies. He was more for, like, action and stuff like that. But, I mean, he was cool. First time I don't talk to him anymore, but whatever. Shit, life happens. But, yeah, so it was kind of cool because my very first time playing Resident Evil 4, I was playing it with a friend, and we would basically take turns. And I can't tell you how many times we died playing that game. And the funny thing with Resident Evil 4, man, it's those kind of games like even if you're doing everything and taking your time, you can still beat it like in 8 9 hours. I'm not even bullshitting when I'm pretty sure we took, I believe, was 17 hours. How the hell I can remember that, I don't know, but I know for sure it was like like pretty much either 17 hours or above that. Unfortunately, I do not have that old PS2 memory card. And speaking of memory cards, man, I can even remember the memory card I first had my save data for the PS2 version of Resident Evil 4. And the funny thing was, because I remember I went to the mall with my mom, and we were just looking around, and we were at a store called FYE, which was a 4 Year Entertainment. And I remember looking at the memory cards, and it was kind of cool. Normally, she wouldn't offer me anything. She would just offer me like food at the food court. But she actually asked for. She goes, "Hey, I got 20 extra bucks from the housekeeping." She goes, "Do you want something?" She goes, "I go, yeah, I kind of want this memory card." And she got it for me. And it's funny. I still remember I don't remember the brand of it, but I could tell you exactly what it looked like. It was an 8 MB PS2 memory card. It was like a different brand. Again, I don't know the brand, but it was like a translucent blue plastic memory card. And on the tips, like where you kind of like pull it out or whatever, like or hold it, it had like three white rubber grips. And I still remember that shit, man. I still remember a good portion of the games I had on that thing. But I'm that's the bad thing with me. I go on these nostalgia trips and I just don't shut the fuck up. Sorry about that. But yeah, so back on topic. Yeah, so I played Resident Evil 4 with a coworker. We died so many times to Dr. Salvador. We eventually got it. We eventually kept changing up our strategy because, bro, we were stupid, man. We got. Well, the one thing with me, like especially being a gamer back then, like I love video games, but even now, like if you ever see me like playing games new or whatever, you would just think like, dude, are you a fucking novice? Who the hell are you, man? If you're playing like you just barely picked up a console for the first time, and so even to today, I still kind of do that stuff, man. Like I don't know, I'm just built differently, I guess. I'm the kind of person very slow to learn, but as soon as I grip it, I master it very quickly. But that's just me, just being an old fuck. But yeah, so we took turns. So every time I died, I'd pass the controller to him. Although sometimes he's like, bro, I don't want to play. So he would just give it back to me. He goes, when you die again, give it to me. Like, all right, cool, whatever. So we did that, and we would just constantly. And it's funny. Normally, you would think that we would be arguing about which weapons to get. No, we actually just stuck with the starter weapons. The only gun I think we ever like went out of our comfort zone, I think, was the broken butterfly. And then we felt really stupid when we found out you can get a free one. They were like, fuck. But so that was pretty cool. So again, we would do that. It took us a very long time to get through everything. And the funny thing is, I can't even recall like the very first time we did the cabin fight. That took us so many hours to get past, and it felt good when we got it. And then there was another shitstorm when we actually had to pick between the left or the right side of the route, which was either right side was El Gigante or fight the Bella sisters on the left side. Because I remember we were like, oh, what the hell? Like there was a file and we were reading it, and I think it was a file from Mendes or a note from him. And we're like, nah, fuck it, we'll take the left side, man. Like we could take on a small army. We don't need to fight El Gigante again. Fuck that motherfucker. But yeah, no, we quickly regretted that. We only tried 2 times, and we're like, yeah, we're too scared to fight these bitches. We're gonna take our chance with the big monkey. Fuck this. So we did that, and we eventually went to Chief Mendez. Died a shitload of times to him as well. And this is so stupid. That part where you're actually getting away from the village after you scan Mendez's eye. That truck, we died so many times. So if you're getting the idea, it's because our aim sucked. Yes, yes, our aim was dog shit. But we trekked on through, made it through the castle. We died so many times to the what the hell was that? The Garador. There you go. That's his fucking name. We died way too many times to that guy. The funny thing is, I can still remember Waterhall. We actually didn't do that bad, despite the fact we were going super slow. We were taking our time. But I think that's the reason why we survived, actually. Because usually, even like with the Garador and everything else, we took our time and, bro, we were just dog shit at it. But for some reason, Waterhall, I think we only died maybe like once. I think, and that's because we actually shot Ashley when she was doing the cranks. Like, oh, you stupid bitch. And surprisingly, even the next section, but I think because we were finally getting a grasp of the game's controls. Because when you first run into the Novista doors, we actually did pretty okay. Like we only got decapitated like once, and that was it. Like we didn't really die again. We got fucked up in the swinging axe room quite a bit. So there was that. But on that, yeah, we and then surprisingly, we even did the red zealot, the one that runs to the Gatling gun. We surprisingly did that pretty well. I do remember we didn't die surprisingly, and then even more surprising was when you run into Salazar again, and that little army comes after you. Those guys with the rocket launchers that come out of the portrait. That one we surprised didn't die either. The wolves again, we didn't die, so that was pretty cool. And we kept going and going until we got to the island. That's when everything went to shit. And yeah, and even before the island too, when you finally fight Salazar for the last time, or not the last time, we do fight him. Dude, that shit was like we're like, yo, what the fuck? Like I remember like kind of laughing because my friend was like, dude, he just took that guy with him. What the fuck? It was just like, oh shit. And that fucking big ass thing comes out, that giant long ass demonic penis. But man, dude, that man, I can't believe I can remember all this shit. But yeah, that was cool. Like we kicked Salazar's ass with us so many times. That was cool. Going to the island and we got wrecked so many times as well. Man, we died so many times at the JJs. No matter where we fought them, we just got our asses kicked. And the funny thing is, we were stupid with the way we kept upgrading weapons. Like, despite the fact we were sticking to the original, we decided to start investing into the TMP. And I don't know, man. We just failed to do shit with that thing. Our money was all over the place, and even at one point we decided, hey, this rifle's pretty cool, but let's get the rifle set semi-automatic. We bought it, didn't like it, and then we switched back to the original one. And then we were stupid, man. We were constantly shitting on ourselves like dumbasses. The regenerators, and it's funny because at that point he was like, I'm not touching this. For me, I'm like, oh, this is pretty crazy. Like, it's an enemy you can't even fight. Like, you just got to run at this point. They're like, oh shit, but yeah, he did not want to fuck with those things. He only decided to actually take a shot at it when we finally got that scope, the biosensor scope. That was the only time he was gonna fight him, but he's like, nah, fuck now. He goes, I'll let you do it. Like, oh, okay. And the funny thing is, he's the one that actually took control when it came for the Krauser fight. The very first time he got frustrated because it was like the quick time events, and yeah, Krauser, we died a shitload to him as well, including the one where you finally fight him, like when he finally grows that giant arm. Like, damn it, man, we got our ass kicked so many times. And again, we were new. We didn't know that you could just use a knife to kick his ass. We were actually using the TMP and the shotgun that we had, and we just it took us so long, but eventually we got it. I think that the TMP was the one that did the most. And I know for sure we used a few shots of a Magnum, and that's only the funny thing is because I remember when we first killed him, we got his ass good, but we ran out of time. Like, fuck. Oh man, then actually before Krauser 2, the U3, that thing, yeah, we died a shitload of times to that thing as well. That thing was a fucking pain in the ass, man. What the fuck? And shit, and then we finally got to Sadler. That was a whole trip. We actually didn't die that many times. I think maybe we died, I want to say maybe like 3 times actually. I do remember the very first time is we actually died because we didn't know that the bridge would constantly disconnect or collapse, and we didn't know there was a quick time event we couldn't hit it. And we kept dying to that shit. Like, fuck. But yeah, so we finally beat his ass. Sorry about that. We finally beat his ass. We got the special rocket launcher. That was cool. And then when he finally escaped on the jet ski, yeah, man, we died so many times to that. We were charging in there like idiots, not realizing like, oh yeah, we're going kind of too fast, or we're crashing into the wall like an idiot. But oh well, fuck it. We eventually did it, and like I said, I'm very damn well sure it was over 17 hours that we beat that game. But it was cool. We enjoyed it, and the cool thing was that we were playing that game like in a kind of like in like maybe like 3 2 hour, and one of those days was like a 4 hour burst because he would just crash at my place every now and then, and we would just play it together. So despite the fact it should have taken me maybe like 3 days to maybe beat the game, it took us like a little over a week. But hey, man, it was cool to play like that. It was fucking cool. But yeah, so we eventually finished that. We saw like some of the unlocks. We're like, hey, yo, what the hell, an infinite rocket launcher? Oh shit! And then the Matilda were like, oh, that looks cool. I guess I don't want it. But yeah, other than that, yeah. So that's pretty much how the very first experience went. And unfortunately, after that game, actually, I stopped talking to him. Like we stopped talking. He went to a different job, and we just never really kept in contact ever since. So that was pretty much it. But yeah, so that was actually my very first experience with Resident Evil 4. and everything I just talked about, which is the very first time I played it and the very first time I owned it. Unfortunately, I can't remember the first time I played a Simon Ada. I just remember getting pissed off playing it. I don't know, it was too difficult for me. Separate Ways, I did enjoy it. Only for the one thing that Ada's ass was really making me hard. So let's just say after every chapter, I had to beat my meat. But yeah, so that was my little story about Resident Evil 4. How I got my pretty much again, like I said before, just the very first time I played it and the very first time I owned it. Because I mean, bro, I have the game pretty much everywhere except the original GameCube version, which I do need to get. But other than that, I pretty much bought it on everything: the Wii, the Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, even the PC version, which I mean I can't really play because my laptop sucks for it. Although I never, the funny thing is I actually had a friend who had the iOS version, that Resident Evil 4 mobile. That thing was fucking gay, so I never touched it again, and I wasn't gonna buy it. Well, also, 'cause I never really been a fan of Apple products, like whatever. But yeah, so there was that. And but other than that, yeah, I pretty much played Resident Evil 4 on pretty much everything that has really been released on, so that's pretty fucking sweet. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. Thanks for watching. Nut.